Welcome back to Beyond Mortgage. I'm your host, Dan Trinidad. Our guest today is the VP of Marketing at MBS Highway. She's a social media expert and guru. She's the host of her own podcast called Behind the Breakthroughs. Megan Anderson, welcome.
Thanks for having me on, Dan.
You bet. So let's get started by, the majority of our guests, our listeners are loan originators and real estate agents. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to MBS Highway.
Yes, it's a very interesting story on how I actually got into the mortgage space. And I love bringing this question up for everyone because it's not like anyone chose to be here. We all just kind of fell into this space. But at the time, after I graduated college, I lived in Vegas for a while. And I was shifting from being a personal trainer in a gym to taking it all online. So I had to start to learn how to use video, how to build my brand, and how to generate leads. And at the same time, I was working conventions, and I ended up working Mastermind. What is it now? 4 or 5 years ago, I worked the Mastermind convention, and that is where I met everybody. That's where I met Barry, Tim Brahim. I met the whole crew there. And Barry asked me if I would start doing events for them. So one thing led to another. I started doing events, and then the next thing you know, I'm moving to New Jersey to be in the office. And one thing that I realized is that MBS Highway is great. You know, we have a lot of tools. We help a lot of loan originators. But people weren't being notified about them. Education was definitely an issue. And I saw a way that we could kind of bridge the gap here by utilizing social media. So that's when we came out with our users Facebook group page. And it really was a great way for us to communicate to our subscribers and really utilize the power of social media. And so, you know, I've been with MBS Highway ever since. And to be honest, I kind of feel like I've been in this space forever because my mom's a VP of a bank down in Cody, Wyoming, and she originates. And then my dad was a builder. So somehow this is just like in my lifeblood.
Well, you definitely got connected with the right people from the start. And, you know, having not been in the industry very long, I mean, you're extremely visible. And you've done a great job building, your brand along with MBS Highway. So great job. So obviously there's a lot of disruption taking place in our industry right now in the mortgage space, real estate space. Now, from a marketing perspective, what can a loan originator or a real estate agent do not only to survive, but hopefully thrive through all this disruption that's taking place?
Yeah, we are in an interesting time. And right now, especially, I mean, people are hitting record volumes that they've never hit before. And there's a lot of business. And that's, as you know, that's due to the fact that rates are at really low levels right now. And we just have high applications on the volume side, on the purchase side, and on the refinance side. And what I think is something that everyone needs to be thinking about here is the market is cyclical. At some point in time, it's going to change. And I like to bring this up that literally 18 months ago, rates were at 5%. And people were complaining about being in this space and not having enough, production and volume in their pipelines, and people were wanting to leave the space, and the whole talk was about margin compression. And now we're in this space where everyone is just fat and happy, but we need to remember literally 18 months ago that was not the case. And so my biggest thing is when we're stepping in from a marketing perspective, regardless of where we are in the market, what we need to focus on is providing value, because that always, regardless of what is happening in the market, that's always going to get you that next level. That's always going to bring you those leads. Is we need to be providing value. And people always get caught up on this, well, what do I say? How do I create value? It's not that hard. Honestly, this is a great exercise for you to do and to think of, is sit down and think about, okay, if I could work with any client in the world, who would I work with and why? Try and understand that. Maybe it's first-time home buyers that, at the end of the day, through all these fires and all these stressful things that you're doing throughout the day, maybe it's those clients specifically that give you a little bit more energy and give you a little bit more purpose. So even though they can be a headache, really at the end of the day, you love serving those clients. Okay, so we have that target audience in mind. Now here's the exercise. Sit down, set a timer for 10 minutes, and I just want you to write everything on that page of every question that comes in that you have to answer repetitively, emotion, fear, just list it all down. And I guarantee you, because I've had people do this exercise, by the end of those 10 minutes, they have over 25 things written down on that sheet of paper. And that is where you start with creating your content to provide value and ultimately attract leads and turn those leads into clients.
That's awesome. So from a social media perspective, what can you do to stay relevant when, you know, the big boys like Quicken, you know, certainly have a lot more money and are getting more visible? How does a, you know, a modern
Well,
day originator stay
here's the
relevant?
thing with Quicken is a lot of those people that are writing those loans and processing all of that, they worked at Verizon a few months ago. They
That's
do
right.
not have the expertise and the years that everyone has in this business. So really the focus should be on how can I be an advisor, because just by being an advisor and being able to help that client throughout the years, maybe they get divorced, they need to pull out some equity, maybe something happens, you're constantly there for that client, you're providing them value. That's something that Quicken and them are not going to do. They are just massive, here's the calls, let's get them processed, shoot them out. They're not going to play that advisor role. So I think setting yourself apart in different ways, from content creation to services that you offer to how you follow up with that client before, during, or after, that is what is going to set you apart from all these fintech companies and ultimately help you survive from them gaining market share.
Yeah, I think what I'm seeing, and you alluded to this a little bit, loan officers are so extremely busy. I mean, I've seen this so many times in the last 31 years where, you know, systems get stretched, time limits are
Mhm.
full, getting help is really difficult. But so getting the social media and marketing component of your business, I'm finding originators don't have the time that they used to. So, you know, do you have any recommendations? So for originators, like what should they be focused on to get it done? Um, you know, how can they manage their time a little bit better?
Well, one, if you feel completely lost and you do not even know how to navigate any social platforms, then ultimately reaching out and getting some help could be really beneficial, whether that's a
Sure.
coach or, whatever the case may be, that can be really beneficial. But other than that, one thing that I find is helpful, and I do this personally, is I sit down and once a month I have a time frame where I'm mapping out the content that I'm going to be posting for that next month. And when you're putting this all together, it can take a lot of time to create content. So don't be afraid to make it easier on yourself. Take a look at, okay, what are things that I'm already doing that I can create content easily from? For example, every day on MBS Highway, we come up with a morning update video. That's where we quickly recap what's happening in the market, news that's going to come out the rest of the week, yada, yada, yada. So I am already spending an hour in the beginning of my day researching and reading on the market. How easy is it? And I've done this with my past few posts on Instagram as well, is I take a little fun news thing that's happening and I will put it in a quick little fun caption. So it's something that I'm already doing that I can quickly create content from. Another example of how I do this is my podcast. I take that entire 45-minute segment, I'll upload it to a platform that kind of puts it out in Word format because it just makes it so much quicker. And I'll just go through and quickly highlight ones that I want to turn into quotes and ones that I want to turn into audiograms. And that makes it so easy. And if you don't have time to do that, but you do have like a long form type content, whether it's a YouTube channel, podcast, whatever the case may be, there are people that will do this for you. You just need to make sure before you hire someone to create content for you, you need to make sure that you're crystal clear and they're crystal clear on what it is that your brand is. Because a lot
Right.
of the times I see loan originators going out, joining these platforms that create content for them, and it's just mass produced. If anyone is going and searching the hashtag loan originator or broker, they'll just see so many of the same content, the
Right.
same piece. And what that does is it just dilutes it. And it doesn't set you apart as being that trusted
It's not
advisor.
authentic. It's not
It's not
authentic at all.
authentic. And
Yeah.
people attach to authentic because we're in this world where everything seems a little superficial, from automated email campaigns to, whatever the case may be. One thing that I really love and I would really advise for everyone to do is make sure that you're doing your own personal videos. Videos, one, they get viewed more, they have favorable position within the algorithm, which is great because we ultimately want our content to be seen and we want it to be engaged with. But also what videos do is it allows that potential client to start to know, like, and trust you. And remember that the whole purpose of marketing is staying top of mind. And so when we're coming out with these videos and they have our face on them, or this content that feels really authentic to us and our brands, what it does is it allows us touch points with each and every person and allows us to stay top of mind so that when they're ready to move forward, they'll think of us.
No, that's great. So you mentioned you take time to map out an entire month. When you say mapping out, are you taking a calendar and putting in the days you're going to have quotes? And do you take
Yep.
it, one step further and actually put in those quotes then? I mean, do you set up the content each day 1 month ahead of the time so then it automatically happens,
Yes.
or do you just
Yes, I try and do that. We're also, and I'll get into this in a little bit, we're coming out with a tool in MBS Highway that'll help loan originators do exactly
oh
this,
great.
which I'm really excited about. But essentially what I do is I'll just Excel, get a calendar template, and I have different kind of types of posts. There's engagement posts, there's call to action, there's all these different types of posts that I have divided into 7 different kind of types. And depending upon where we're at, if we're launching, for example, we do these things at MBS Highway called challenge groups. And that's where we give people an extended free trial and we give them little tasks to complete each day. We all come in a Facebook group. So if we're doing something like that, where we're promoting something, some event that we're having, or we're trying to get signups or whatever the case may be, we'll shift the type of content that we're posting. So it'll map out differently depending on whether you're just trying to engage and build and gain trust. And so anyways, we'll have this all mapped out. And the great thing about it is, one thing that you talked about is quotes. Quotes are a great thing to post because they can really kind of build image for what your brand is all about, and people connect with them, and they're really easy to find. I mean, you could go to Pinterest,
Mhm.
type in quotes, give yourself 10 minutes, and bam, you have enough quotes to last the entire month. Maybe you're going to post one once a week or whatever the case may be. It's very easy to find that content and repurpose it. But yeah, I definitely recommend quotes. And the great thing about it is, once you have them all in a folder, let's say that you have 90 quotes in there. Well, you don't have to go search for quotes each and every week at this point in time. You have
Mhm.
enough
Mhm.
content in there that you can just keep recycling it. Okay, I posted this one 90 days ago. It's time to come back in the queue. And if someone were to that's listening right now, go to one of your favorite brands or whatever the case may be, coaching platforms, whatever, that you enjoy their marketing, go back and scroll the long ways back through their content, because you'll see that a lot of the content that they're making, They might repurpose it, shift the image a little bit or
Mm-hmm.
adjust the
Mm-hmm.
text a little bit. But people are repurposing their content, and it's okay to do that because no one's going to remember a post that you made,
Right. Right.
a long time ago.
The struggle I have just with my brand or myself is I don't get way out ahead of it like a month. So, today
Hmm.
comes up, I'm not in the mood to go on Facebook. I don't want to hear all the garbage going on. So I stay
Hmm.
away. And then trying to search for, okay, like, what do I want to say today? And that starts taking too much time. And I think
Yep.
your advice of getting way ahead of it, no, and just having it done, would help. I mean,
It
I
makes
just,
it so easy because then too, maybe you have um, you can follow hashtags too. So then people know what to expect. So let's
mhm,
say every Thursday you have like a thankful Thursday and you post a review or whatever the case may be. Well, people know every Thursday there's going to be a review. And then over time, if you continue to follow the same kind of structure, it creates, say on Instagram, where it's all very visual images, it creates this wonderful, easy to look at,
yeah.
palatable board.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. So what social platforms do you recommend an originator and a real estate agent use? Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn?
So
Um,
it depends upon your target audience first and foremost. So back to that exercise where I said try and find out what clients, if you could choose, who would you ideally pick with? So let's say, and you can have different types of target audiences. There's those people that really renew your energy, like first time home buyers, even though they're a pain in the butt. Or, maybe it's something that you know a lot about, like reverse mortgages or something of that sort. Well, let's say it's first time home buyers. If it's first time home buyers, who are those? Well, millennials are really coming into the market starting to purchase homes. They actually were 35% of the homes purchased recently. So it's definitely a growing demographic here. So if it's first time home buyers, those are millennials. Millennials are what age group? Where are they spending their time? Millennials are spending the majority of their time on platforms like Instagram,
Instagram.
whereas Facebook, they're not actually checking their Facebook as often or as frequently as one might think. Now, let's say your target audience is reverse mortgages. Well, if you're going to be spending time on Instagram, you're wasting your time. In that case, you'd probably want to spend more of your time on Facebook. Let's say that you are not even originating for the most part, you're just doing recruiting for a company. Well, in that case, you might want to spend a lot of your time on LinkedIn because that's where people are spending their time. So it really just depends on who it is that you're trying to attract, on where you should be spending your time. But my favorite platform is definitely Instagram.
Okay. So when you're mapping out your posts, when you're doing a post, is that same post automatically going on all the platforms? So if you're
Mm.
doing a quote, is that same quote on that day showing up on your Facebook account, your Instagram account, if your LinkedIn, if that's what you're
I I'm actually a big fan of doing that because we're all busy. But what I would say is think about what platform you want to spend the majority of
yeah,
your time on and try and focus your overall feel and execution to more so match that platform, if that makes sense. So if
totally
my
makes sense.
favorite platform was Instagram, I'm going to stick with shorter form text because people aren't going to read a lot on Instagram. And I'm going to focus more so on my image. I want it to be very compelling. I want all the brand colors to match. And, I'm going to think more about that kind of overall layout. But I'll still post the same thing on all platforms.
Got it. Got it. So how many times how often should somebody post? Every day? How many times a day?
What depends more than how many times you should post a day is consistency.
Okay.
What I see a lot of the times is people get all excited about social media. They're like, okay, I'm finally going to do this. I'm ready. And they get all excited. It's like going to the gym. You haven't been to the gym in a while and you're like, I'm so ready to get in shape. All of a sudden, you start going to the gym 7 days a week. You get in, it's day 9, and you're like, I can't move my body. I don't know what I did. I'm so sore. I hate this. I am going to go get
I'm
myself
done.
some ice cream right now. And that's what happens. And then the next thing you know, 2, 3 months later, you're like, I should get back in the gym again. And it's a vicious cycle that starts to repeat itself. It's the same thing on social media. So instead, and this would be a great way to approach anyone that wants to get back in the gym as well, is you need to think about it as baby steps. Think to yourself, what can I truly commit to doing for the next 30 to 90 days that doesn't feel
That's
overwhelming?
great.
It
Mm,
feels manageable and I would have an easy time doing it. Okay, well, I know that I could post 3 times a week then. Okay, great. We know we're going to post 3 times a week. Let's go ahead. Let's get that content calendar created. And then another thing that I do is I work on that content before it's supposed to come out.
that's
Because
the key.
I've been in that situation where it's like, oh, what am I going to post about today? I don't know what I want to talk about. Then you're sitting there, you're trying to create a post, you're trying to make it, and it takes forever. You get frustrated and then you just don't post it.